We're here at the Museum of Computing in Swindon to see what they've got in store. Literally. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. Oh. Oh, so comfy. So cozy. Yes, tucked away in the heart of Swindon is the UK's first dedicated computer museum, and it's super cool. But before you and I look around, I'm here with Keith Mortimer, the curator who's going to give us a much more informed overview.
So the Museum of Computing was the first physical dedicated computer museum in the country. It was founded back in 2003, so we're 23 years old now. That was founded by Jeremy Holt and Simon Webb, and the nucleus of the collection was Simon's own personal collection, and then nearly everything you see here has been donated to the museum since then. The museum itself is 100% volunteer run. We have no employees, and it's a non-profit, so all the money that comes in, ticket sales and any other money we raise goes into just making the museum bigger and better. So being a computer museum and not just a retro gaming museum or something like that, then we cover the whole timeline of computing, going from the abacus through to things like our favourite, the Curta, which would have been the iPhone of its time in terms of the quality. You know, that was a pure pocket calculator of its time. It was only until the digital calculators came along that all these mechanical calculators and slide rules, etc., just went out of fashion overnight with the invention of the pocket calculator. And then being a museum, obviously we try to bring to life some of the components, like what are computer chips, how were they made, the timeline of storage and items like that. We like to lay out our museum in a fairly chronological fashion, so we've got the 70s where you got the kit-built computers and the machines for schools and universities and business use, and then of course the bit that a lot of us love, which is the explosion of computing in the 80s. One thing our visitors love is the hands-on nature of the museum, where we've got all the classic machines ready to use. Personal favourite display of mine is the Odyssey display from Magnavox, because this is where computer gaming began. Because this is a console that is as old as I am, so to see how we've come in over 50 years to where we are today, and just to see how ingenious they were to try and make what was simple black and white, very simple graphics, engaging by these overlays, of which of course there were two. So I believe the shotgun was made by Nintendo, because Nintendo were making a Tin Can Alley game. So that's a favourite of mine, and of course we've got some adverts of the time. And of course a family was used to playing board games, so why not tie in the board game aspects with it? So that all came with the box set. This room is more put aside for 80s, 90s personal computers. So going through from the XTs, 80s, the clones. One thing, because we're a small museum, I would love to reuse the space, but people just love having a bit of Lego to play with. So it's amazing. When a family comes, this is a kind of an area where we've got more of the portable computers, although because it's near some power, we've also got some desktops working at the moment. So obviously the usual IBM clones, the Amstrad PC 1640. This is a recent machine that anybody at Retrofest last year will hopefully remember, which is a Tektronix. And we don't have this powered up on a Saturday, but we have got it fully working now. And what was special about this one was it's a bit like an Etch-a-Sketch. It draws to the screen and the screen remembers the image. I mean, this is late 70s technology. You had 1,000 by 1,000 pixel display, so it's really good quality, but it's just beautiful to watch it draw. And then this is an area where certainly the children love to spend time in, and obviously a lot of the adults as well, because it goes from the era of Pong all the way around to the PlayStation era. So as you can see, not a huge museum, but we like to be small and perfectly formed. We've tried to cram in lots of interesting items and machines to use.
Talking about cramming lots of things into a tight space, Proton VPN was started in 2017 by a group of scientists who met at CERN, and they've packed their VPN to the brim with features. Thank you to Proton VPN for sponsoring this segment. This scientific group decided that the internet needed a privacy layer that wasn't owned by a venture capital fund quietly hoovering up your data. It's based in Switzerland, which has incredibly serious privacy laws, it's open source, it has an independently audited no-logs policy, and Sir Tim Berners-Lee sits on their board. There are thousands of servers in over 100 countries. NetShield blocks ads, port forwarding allows direct peer-to-peer, split tunneling allows you to route custom apps around the VPN, VPN Accelerator gives you up to 400% speed improvements, and a kill switch makes sure that your IP is protected even if the worst happens. Click the link in the description to get 70% off. As you may expect, Keith certainly knows his stuff and was able to give us a very interesting overview of the museum. He'll be back later when we take a peek at the secret back area. But first I want to talk about a few absolute gems in here. It's not a huge space, but it absolutely has more than its fair share of wonder packed in. When was the last time you saw an original PlayStation kiosk? The kind you would rock up to in game after school and spend 3 hours hammering through Crash Bandicoot, much to the dismay or appreciation of the staff depending on how chill your store was. Here's Marta doing just that and having a fantastic time.
Whoa. Were you Crash Bandicoot in a previous life?
Here we have Microsoft Flight Simulator 4, I think, although it's likely 4.0b because the first release was riddled with bugs and quickly superseded. But the star of the show is what is paired with it, this glorious 1984 IBM personal computer AT, packing both 5.25 and 3.5-inch drives. What about this Panasonic KXP 1123 dot matrix? I had this printer, my friend had this printer, lots of people had this 24-pin dot matrix printer in the early 90s, and you know why? It's because it was sold in Argos. That's why. And it printed homework like there was no tomorrow. I actually want to make a proper video about this exact printer in the near future. Now, you already saw me squeezing into a Sinclair C5 at the start. This one is actually Simon Webb's, one of the founders and the museum curator from 2003 to 2022. And unfortunately I couldn't ride it around the entire museum, mainly because it had a massive bicycle lock on the wheel, but also because people would likely die. No computer museum, however, is complete without one. Look at all these handhelds, so many glorious handhelds. I actually just stood here and watched them spin for a while. It's amazing what kind of nostalgic pangs you can get from a cartridge artwork, or an instruction manual, or just the translucent design of a Game Boy Advance. If you just zone out, feel your feelings, and take in what's in front of you, it's like experiencing micro blips of time travel as neurons fire and 30-year-old feelings spike into your nervous system. Oh, I love it. In fact, that's the main reason I like visiting museums like this. The history is fantastic. Reading the personal stories of cassette tapes or video game collections is always compelling, but the real excitement is seeing a game box you haven't seen for 35 years and for a split second instantly being transported back to a moment from your past. That moment might be the excitement you associate with bringing a new game home. It might be the genuine appreciation you had for an iconic design. It might be a feeling of refuge you experienced after a long day at school, coming back and tuning into a game that you were knee-deep in. It might be a pang of longing you felt, seeing a machine of perceived ultimate power on a TV show and knowing that you would unlikely be able to ever own one. Maybe a feeling of anticipation for the future, knowing that technology would just keep developing around you. Or it might just be a brief feeling of safety you experienced, knowing that the next few hours were just you, the controller and the cartridge placed firmly in your Nintendo Entertainment System. It's not a big museum, but like all these places, it's big enough to trigger memories, feelings and experiences that you thought were long gone. And you never know what will trigger them. That's the beauty of a computer museum.
That's going in.
Okay, now let's head into the secret room. Secret room. And see what we can remember. I won't show you the full scope of the stockroom here, mainly because Keith is a proud and professional guy and didn't want to show this area until it's fully catalogued and organised to his desired level, and I fully respect that. Even though in its current state it's still 10 times more organised and catalogued than my own office shelves. So what you'll see here is some strategic close-ups of some sexy tech, whilst Keith gives us a rundown.
The majority of the items upstairs we keep on display, and we've been adding to the display, and the odd item we're trying to bring together more working examples of machines so that we can swap out a let's say the Dragon for an MSX or something like that, because we're limited in the number of spaces we can have something working, and it's just to give especially people who are coming, you know, once a month or something like that, something different. Ultimately we're trying to raise more money to store everything better. I dream about having everything. We are very lucky, on our doorstep we have the Science Museum, and if you ever get the chance, they do tours around it. They have the Hawking building, which is their new state-of-the-art storage facilities, and I was literally drooling when I walked around the place because I would love to have storage like that, but that's big money. That's millions and millions of pounds worth. We're working on a shoestring budget. We're working towards it. And then potentially do like the Science Museum, and I think the V&A are doing it now, which is to make the storage of the items maybe not as fancily displayed, but to actually have those tours of the storage to be another revenue stream. This is an example of a Logica, and Logica had a factory in Swindon, and then another machine that is local to this area that my father worked for a short period of time between Garrards and Torrin was a company called Cypher, which I believe was based in Melksham. So this is what was our classroom until recently, because our volunteer left that was managing the classroom. Yeah, so we would do scratch coding mostly in here with on a Saturday, or for schools or for scouts, etc. This machine is set up so that we can recreate dial-up internet. The computer's got a standard 56k modem in it. That's going through a standard Office PBX through to a modem that's connected to a Raspberry Pi. This is acting as the web server. This is acting as the telephone exchange. And then we've got dial-up internet, brought down websites of the era.
Nice.
Yes, so these are websites from the Wayback Machine, saved locally so that we can have it as a standalone exhibit without it needing internet access or worrying about our internet connection or any of the other multiple things that could go wrong. This just allows us to have it on a USB stick on a Raspberry Pi. A version of this was at Retrofest in 2025, and then we're going to have it at the festival of tomorrow, and then it's going to be one of the exhibits upstairs for people to come in and experience that, because the children that are coming in today have only ever known always on internet, fast always on internet. compared to back then, your average broadband now of about 17 megabits per second is something like 1,250 times faster than what we had back then. So it's not emulating, it is the true speeds, because you've got a computer serving it through a modem directly through. Cool. So yeah, as you can see, donations, overflowing.
Yeah, it feels like the input room, things coming in, you work on it, and then it goes,
I'll give you that
goes
back.
out.
That back in.
So there we have it. That's the Museum of Computing in Swindon. Big thanks to Keith and his crew for showing us around. If you're nearby, I fully recommend taking a look. And if you're not, well, I'm going to be continuing this series, visiting more museums and making films about them. Mainly because I really enjoy visiting computer museums, but also because I feel that these places need more attention. They're doing the heavy lifting, preservation work here, and they can't stay open unless they get footfall. One of my first ports of call is likely going to be the Northwest Computer Museum. I went there a few years ago but didn't get around to making a full video about it, and that footage is now out of date. So, time to return. But after that, where should I go next? It doesn't have to be limited to the UK. I've already been to the Heinz Nixdorf Museums Forum in Germany and the Home Computer Museum in the Netherlands, twice. Video links are in the description should you want to take a look at those. But drop a comment below with any suggestions. Until next time, I've been Nostalgia Nerd. Toodaloo. Oh, Commodore 64 GS, the ultimate in game consoles. There it is. Wonderful.